All right, hey, it's Monday, April 24th, bringing you a Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. Boy, things are really getting good. It's that time of year. It seems like all the fish are up. Either the crappie, the bass, whatever. Everything's up and feeding. Before the spawn. The lake level, real quick, it's 656.75, I think it is. So we'll call it about 3 foot low. So it's creeping up. It's coming up a little bit. Water temp today, had a trip this morning. It was, we've had a couple cool nights. So surface temp was mid to upper 50s, but towards the end of the trip, mid morning, it was 60 degrees. So that's just the surface temp, kind of cools off a little bit. But I'm gonna say that the water temp is probably upper 50s to lower 60s, pretty much everywhere. Fished the lower end today, and the fish we caught this morning, we caught some short ones, smaller ones up shallow, but the better fish were about 8 foot of water today. So I don't know, but I would say that cool weather, last cool nights, probably backed some of them fish off maybe a little bit. We've seen a lot of beds, but wasn't a whole lot on those beds, but little fish, little males. But better fish kind of had backed off, and they'll do that a lot of times, at least at night, them cool nights. But then this afternoon, they'll move on back up around them beds. But boy, the big bass was last week. Went pretty much about how we kind of expected it. Upper sixes was a good fish, but the guy that caught I think it was a 727. When he caught that Saturday, I'm like, that's the winner right there, and it held up and won. And pretty neat story if you haven't seen it. Maybe look it up. The Big Bass, they have it posted. How the guy caught it, what on his boat and everything. It's really neat story, and really what the Big Bass is all about. So anyway, congratulations to that young man for winning that and the way he did. But back to fishing, like I said, man, fishing's really good right now. It's that time of year, everything's biting. Pretty much it's the only time of the year where all the fish have to come shallow sooner or later. We had a pretty good wave of fish come up and start spawning that week of the bass. A little earlier than I was expecting. I mean, I hadn't seen any real signs. And then it turned out a lot of fish were caught on beds. Second place was caught on a bed. That I don't know what it was, 680 or something like that. But anyways, a lot of fish moved and they came in quick. But I'm gonna say that was the first wave. I'll say probably 30% of the fish that are spawning or going to spawn. I will say that was that first wave. About 30% of them. And then we're going to see a big push here the next couple weeks. I would say the majority of them, probably, 50% of them, maybe 45, 50%, a big move. And then we'll have another one later, closer to, I'll say 1st of June. So, there's going to be a lot of bed fishing going on. This year, that lower end of the lake, actually not the lower end, I'll say from the Glaze all the way down to the dam, up the grab wash way, it's really clear, like 6 to 7 foot visibility. And the fish here on the Ozarks, they usually spawn, I'd say 4 to 5 foot of water. So it's making a lot of bedding fish a lot more visible than normal. And normal years, they'd have to be spawning in 2 foot of water, 3 foot to really see them, where with this water being so clear. Well, I've seen some beds today, they were in 6, 7 foot of water, and I could still see the bed. So, if you like the bed fish, it's fishing really good as far as, fishing bed and being able to see them. As far as baits, man, it's a whole variety, but I would have to say, like today, the guys, they were throwing a Crocodile quarter ounce shaky pro head, with just a watermelon with a red flake. And this bait here is going to catch them for man, for a couple months now. I mean, you could probably just go out and throw this and catch plenty of fish. They had several keepers today, a couple pushing 4 pounds. I mean, they just had a really good morning. And that's all they were throwing. And we were kind of just concentrating on spawning pockets. You kind of have a long straight part of the bank, and then you just have a little, pocket, maybe 50-foot deep pocket, with pea gravel in the middle, and kind of a, broken rock, kind of baseball size, and kind of go out to bigger rock. Just textbook type of stuff today. And man, they caught them. And it was, I don't think they threw anything else but just this bait today. And like I said, it's from now on, this is probably the most productive bait on the lake, day in, day out. There'll be other things that work, but I mean, you could put on a 1/4 ounce crackhead or shaky pro head and that mag finesse worm and just go to work on them. I'm throwing that on 12-pound test, on a 7-foot Falcon with one of them hyper mag reels. Now today, the guys, they were throwing spinning rod and reel setup, just kind of like I always show you. Spooled up with 30-pound high-vis yellow, and then a 12-pound leader, about 12 foot of a 12-pound leader on there. And they're throwing that same setup. And just catch them. That braid will really help you see some of these fish. If you're fishing beds or around beds, and you can't see them, actually see the beds, there still might be beds there. And a lot of times these fish, they'll just pick that bait up and kind of start swimming off. They won't give you a real hard bite or nothing. They'll just kind of pick that bait up and start swimming off. They're either eating it or they're picking it up off a bed and just moving it out. And that's where that high-vis yellow, you'll really detect that movement of that line really, really easy. And of course, that line's really sensitive, so you'll feel the fish and you'll see it move. So it really helps you detect a bite right now. While you're fishing like a shaky head like that. Other baits that are working, obviously, a Carolina rig is still working. It's going to work, for a good another month. Just the same setup, 3/4 ounce. I got a brass weight on there, and then I got a glass bead, got my swivel, and then about 3.5 foot of 12-pound monofilament. And then this is the medium size brush hog with a 4-aught wide gap hook. So that's the setup for that Carolina rig, and you're basically throwing it in the same kind of the corners, the shoulders going into these spawning pockets, down the middle of these spawning pockets. Anywhere there's pea gravel mixed, just throw that Carolina rig on up to the bank and just drag that thing on out. Drag it all the way out, 15 foot, 16 foot of water. Sometimes the big females, they'll kind of back off for whatever reason, and they'll hang out, before they head on in to spawn. And that Carolina rig is a perfect way to catch some fish. On this, I'm throwing a little bit bigger rod. This is a Falcon Amistad. It's 7'2", longer rod for longer casts. And then you got this big, long Carolina rig. While you're dragging it, when you go to set the hook, you need to really move a lot of line quick, to get a good hook set. And that's where that little bit longer rod, pretty stout rod, it's pretty beefy in the middle, but it's got a little bit lighter tip, so you can throw it out there and then feel it while it's dragging. You can feel them rocks. You want to feel everything. You really want to drag that pretty slow, pretty steady retrieve when you're dragging a Carolina rig. It'll bounce along them rocks, and you can feel every rock, everything it's doing. And when a fish picks it up, you'll feel them rocks, and all of a sudden you won't feel them rocks anymore. And that's when that fish has picked it up, or you'll feel a little tick, or you'll just load up on you. So it's just a really productive bait all throughout the spring and throughout the spawn. So Carolina rig is a really good way. Other baits are going to start coming into play. They're already coming into play now, but these next 3-4 weeks are really going to come into play. Is just your top water, your slow moving top waters that you can throw right over the top of a bed. Like a chug bug. This is just an old school storm chug bug. Um, it's got one of them tails on it that Davis uh, feather tail on the back of it with a real good hook. I usually change out the hooks on my chug bugs. Sometimes they come with a decent hook, but a lot of times they come with a little cheaper hook, so you might want to switch them out. So you got a really good hook. But you basically throwing these around the same spawning banks, pea gravel mix, in the very backs, in the backs of pockets, and just throw it right up to the bank and pop that thing 3-4 times and stop it about where you would think a bed would be, so it's sitting above them beds, and pop it out there and just let it sit there. Let them waves kind of dissipate and get real calm, and then start popping it again. And that's usually when, if this thing's right above a bed, the bass don't like anything above them around their beds. They'll come up and they'll hit that top water. So a chug bug's a real good way to catch a lot of fish, and it'll entice some big fish if that thing's sitting on top of their beds long enough. Another bait is just a spook, a good old spook, one knocker's head and spook. You can see that one's pretty much got the sides wore off. It's one of my favorite ones here. But it's caught a lot of fish. But same deal, it walks. You throw it up to the bank, walk it out 4 or 5 foot, and stop it, and just let it sit there, sit still. They know it's there, and it's bothering them. If it's sitting above their head, it'll really get to them. And then you start working again. And as soon as you start working again, that's when they'll shoot up and bust that spook. So right now is a real good time for top water. Get ready because the next couple weeks, 3 weeks, is going to be really good top water. And everything's pretty much the same. If you're fishing where fish have already committed and come in, all these baits are going to catch them. Now, there's still some fish holding out. They'll hold out for the next couple weeks. They'll hold out on main lake points. Spinner baits, you can still catch them on spinner baits out there on a good windy day. Just cast that thing up bluff ends, main lake points, secondary points, and just reel that thing. Just kind of vary your retrieve, maybe under the surface 2-3 feet, and let it go down maybe 8 foot, and then let kind of just follow the contour of your bottom. And you can still catch some really big female bass doing it. They'll just kind of hang out there until that last wave comes in, till they feel it's right, whether it be a moon phase or a little bit more sunlight or temperature, whatever it is that gets different ones to move in. A lot of it has to do with the moon phases, so really watch that. To expect a different wave of them coming in. With the bedding fish being a pretty good deal this year with high visibility in the water. There's a lot of baits that you can throw. Like the finesse baits, the shaky heads, this little shorty, of course you got them up there. The little shorty, you can pester them little fish with a little 3/16 or 1/4 ounce little shaky football head, and throw that by them beds, bouncing and let it just sit in them beds. That thing's vertical like this, and you just bounce a little bit. It's going to bug them enough; they're going to come and grab it. That's a good bait. And a lot of times, if you can see the bed, or even if you can't see them. Now, if you can see the bed and you're physically going to throw at a fish on the bed, it's real important to have a bait that you can see, a high visible bait. So a lot of times we've been throwing these swamp bugs that we had poured special color white pearl. We've been throwing them on beds for a long time. You can really see that bait in the bed. And a lot of times you'll see that fish come up when that bait disappears, or you can also watch your bait and see where it's at in that bed a lot more if you have a bait that's white or pearl or pink like bubblegum. Crocketer is running a special run of white swamp bugs. Probably going to get in trouble because they are pouring special swamp bugs. And of course, you can see this is the beaver bug on a pearl colored swamp bug. So very productive. You didn't hear it from me, but that's very productive. Another one is your pearl tube. This is a Crocketer 4-inch super salty flipping tube. in pearl color, and we'll just Texas rig it, or we'll rig it on a 1/4 ounce stand-up head, so that thing stands like this. You bounce a little bit, and them legs move around. You flip it to the bed. A lot of times that thing goes down. As it hits, they're grabbing it. That pearl, you'll see that pearl, as it's falling, you'll see exactly where it's located in that bed. So you'll see a fish come out and grab it. You'll just see that fish, that bait disappear. You'll see it start moving off. So, I've got a bag of pearl, swamp bugs and pearl flipping tubes. Really good bait for our beds. Another bait that works good would be a pearl super fluke, and just rig it like you would normal. Put you a 5/0 hook on it. I usually rig it with a number 4 treble hook on that 5/0 hook as a stinger hook, and you throw that thing, same thing, throw it past some beds and jerk it really quick, twitch it right up to the bed and stop it, and let that thing just settle down right close to the bed, and twitch it a couple times, and they're usually on it. Same thing, it's a pearl. You're going to see that bait a lot better if it's a little ways off. If you can stay off the beds, you're going to be better off as far as not spooking them fish. If you can see them fish, they can probably see you. So if you see a bed or see that bright spot, try to stay back and work one of these baits, through it or around it, and you're probably going to have pretty good luck, getting the bait or getting them fish. Other baits, these like a swim bait, a glide bait, you would call it. This is the S-Wave River to Sea. It's kind of a bluegill color. Anything bluegill color is going to get a lot of attention, a lot of reactions. Same deal, just throw it past and just reel that thing slow, stop it, slow, stop it. Let that thing kind of glide around and get right close to that bed and kind of stall it, and then start it again. And a lot of times them fish will come out and destroy that bait like that if it looks like a bluegill. This is the 120 series, just a smaller one. I like that smaller one because it kind of imitates a bluegill a little bit more, So, as you can see, going through a lot of baits, but they'll all catch them right now. The fishing, like I said, is just excellent right now, and it's only going to get better through, until the end of spawn, and then we're, in another couple weeks, 3 weeks, we're going to have pre-spawn, spawners, and post-spawn. So you're going to catch them all different ways. A lot of these fish move in, they'll spawn, and they'll start backing out, get on these points, on these drops. That's still probably 2-3 weeks away before you start seeing them first ones like that. But it's just a great time to come down here and just catch a lot of fish. I said on Carolina rig, there's obviously a lot of different baits. This is that medium-sized brush hog. Other baits I like to throw is like this here one's got like a sweet beaver on it, something a little bigger, bulkier. Sweet beaver works real good. Your baby brush hog works good. You just kind of switch it up until you kind of see what they want some days. Sometimes they want a big bait, sometimes they want a smaller bait. Other baits like for bed fishing, like this little shorty, I've got it rigged up here. And this is a little 3/16 crocodile shaky football head. I'll take that same one and I'll put just your ring crawl on it. Just a crocodile ring crawl on the back or on that shaky football, and pop that along and let that come down and sit on that bed, and that can just be deadly in a bed. So sometimes just switch it up if you're not getting reactions or you're not getting bites, like you're not getting them to react to your baits. Just try different things. Like here's a little 4-inch finesse worm. They work really good on in your beds. Same deal. You can still rig it on the same 3/16, just a little trick worm, something with a lot of movement. Just who knows what type of mood they're in some days. Some days, whatever you throw in there, they grab it. Other days, they're really picky, and they'll, whatever you throw in. Like today, we were actually watching one. We were throwing, and here's how alert these fish are. We were throwing a bait, and I told them, throw past that bed and then bring it to the bed. When that bait would hit that water, that fish would shoot off of that bed. They know something's different. They heard that bait hit, and they'd shoot off of there. Now, it probably tells me somebody else had been messing with that fish, and that he was pretty pretty spooky. If you can catch a fish that's just moved up, just made that bed, you're more likely to catch that fish than one that's been there for a little while and been pestered with. But I did notice today, I seen a couple beds, just like kind of what we were fishing at Table Rock, some more shelf rock with a little pea gravel mix. I've seen a couple beds and caught a couple fish off of those instead of like a pocket, a normal spawning pocket. So with that water clear this year, we're probably going to see a lot of fish spawning that they've always been there and always spawned like that. But this year, we were able to see them. Kind of like if you ever fish Table Rock, you can see those fish on some of these steeper, little shelfy bluff style banks. You can see them spawning like that. And I always wondered if they do the same thing here at the Ozarks. And today it answered my question because I seen some out there, probably 6-8 foot down, and I could see the bed and threw up there and caught them. So I don't. The fishing is like I said, it's just really good. Crappie today, we caught several bass, caught a lot of bass, and then we took about a half hour and found some big schools of crappie, kind of towards the midway back in these little creeks, little arms off of a major creek, and these fish were just suspended out there, over 20 foot of water, about 8 foot down, just throwing that same old Easy Shiner by Kitech. Friend of mine, Alfred Chapman, made these, poured some special head. These are 16th ounce with a red sickle hook in there. Works really good. I think Fitz has some. Anyway, just a really good sharp hook for them crappie. Just a little bit bigger size than you might normally throw some crappie jig heads for that Easy Shiner. Just seems to help a lot better. And you will catch a lot of bass on that little swim bait too. That's also deadly around beds. If you throw it by there and swim that by it and swim it pretty quick, and right when you get to bed, just kind of kill it, stall it, let it fall down, and pick it back up. Them fish will shoot off of there, think it's a little bluegill or something. They just can't stand it. So that'll catch a lot of fish, but we're still throwing that just for crappie. You can bobber these crappie right now. Just throw up to the bank on a pea gravel, a little flat. Set your bobber about 2 foot down, throw it up there, and just reel it steady, reel it and stop it. As you're reeling it, that bait kind of drifts up a little bit, and when you stop it, it sinks back down a little bit. A lot of times them fish will come up and grab that. So easy way to catch crappie with a bobber, and your weight set down, like I said, 2-3 foot. But we're just steady throwing these Easy Shiners and just catching all the crappie you want. So something's happened here in the last week or so. It seemed like the crappie had moved, and I think they moved in. A lot of them were starting to spawn, and it must be another wave of them moving in, because these are the big ones. Them big foot, 13 inches, 13 and a half inches were piled up, probably, 50 of them out there over the middle of the creek, So I don't know if that's a whole new group coming in, or some of them backed off, or what. I don't really care why they're there, but I seen them on the live scope. The live scope just is just incredible. I really enjoy taking kids out or anybody out, and really, we watch that live scope and you throw that bait and watch it go down. It really teaches anybody, really, adults, kids, anybody. You can watch your bait on that live scope and see it falling, and when you tell them, real slow, and you think you're real slow, and you see that bait really coming up high in the water column, it kind of teaches you. Even myself, a lot of times, I'll think I'm down where I think my fish are, and then I see my bait, and I'm way up here above them. So it really teaches you, technique, working your baits, how fast to work it, how fish are reacting, and everything. So, obviously, I think everyone knows about live scope by now, but it's just an incredible tool. Man, that's about all I really got. Like I said, get down here and enjoy some of this fishing, because it's good. I've got those lithium batteries in there now, these Expion 360s from Wholesale Batteries, and they like we're fishing a BFL, we'll go to Table Rock here, and or even here in the shop here, I have to charge my batteries about every third trip now, or every third day. Last time down at Table Rock, sometimes it's a little tricky at hotels, finding plug-ins or getting your batteries charged, or breakers tripping or something at hotels. We went down there and I was there 3 days. I pre-fished 2 days and fished a tournament a day, 3 full days, never charged the batteries, and they're still fully charged. So boy, the lithiums are really living up to what they're supposed to do, and I am very impressed with them. So that's really all I got. If Denise or I can help you, fishing's getting hot. Trips are filling up, but we've got openings here and there. Midweek is always better if you can open up a day, for crappie or bass. There's a lot of good stuff coming up, good fishing coming up, good top water. The buzz bait is going to come into play here in another 2 weeks, and they just crush that top water. That's going to get real good. And then as we get into June, we're going to just have some of the best fishing of the year. That first couple of weeks of June, a lot of different things that we can do and catch a lot of numbers and a lot of big fish. So if either one of us can help you, or you want to come down and catch some fish, learn some new techniques here on the Ozarks, give me a call, 573-204-9005, or Denise at 314-226-3099, or you can look us up on the internet at jamesdaleguideservice.com. It has the prices on it, what to expect, pictures, whatever. But either way, text us, call us, and we'll get you set up with a trip and come down here and have a good time on the Ozarks. So until next time, we'll see you. Thanks.